Welcome to the Lawyer Mastermind podcast. Today, I'm delighted to welcome Eda Rosa. Eda is the CEO of Paralegal Eda Rosa, renowned for her expertise in paralegal services and legal staff training. Her impactful training programs have significantly helped law firms boost profits, retain top talent, and satisfy clients. Thanks for joining me today, Eda.
Thank you. I love it. Yeah. So thank you for having me on.
So, today we're going to be talking about effective staff training and how that's kind of a game changer. I've worked with a lot of attorneys over the years, and I think whether they're attorneys or not, people struggle with managing and staff training, all the things that come with that. But can you start by just kind of giving your high level overview of why that's so important?
So we tend as business owners, and I'll include myself in this conversation and in this synopsis, but as business owners, we tend to focus a lot on marketing, right? Making sure our
Hmm.
marketing is on point, our brand is on point. We tend to invest a lot on softwares to help us seamlessly do our processes and create SOPs and KPOs and all the good stuff that comes in with running a business, right? Making sure that we have the right tools in order to succeed and scale and grow. But we fail sometimes on the implementation, much like everything else in this world. We all have a list of to-dos, ambitious goals. We all have a designation, but we don't know how we're going to get there. And your team is the heartbeat of all of that. So we invest and we do all the things, but yet we're not including the people that are going to implement all those things. So when you invest in marketing, for example, you're hopefully, if the marketing is done correctly, you're going to get an influx of potential clients. Who's going to handle that? How are they going to handle that? And are they even capable of handling that? So before you go on and invest on all these beautiful things that help us succeed and grow and get to what we need to make sure that the team is going to be ready for it, that they can handle this
Hmm.
new business, this new influx, the growth and the scaling, and making sure that we have the proper people in the proper positions. That is key.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that just inherently, I think, especially if you're new to business and you've just started your firm, for example, you start thinking, hey, look, the cases are coming in. We're all good. It's smooth sailing from here. There's nothing else I have to do. The machine's just going to run itself. And that never seems to be the case, is it?
No, and they don't find the time to train them either. I'm not saying that it's a law firm specific because I have seen other businesses struggle with this, kind of like what you were alluding to before. But law firms just frankly do not have the time to train their staff and create these processes and everything. Like, even with my business as consulting and partnering up with these law firms, it's like pulling teeth to get them to sit down and really go through it, because they're like, well, I have to be in trial, I have a mediation, I have this. And the key is time management, right? Is how, taking time, make the time. And that's really what they lack sometimes. They don't understand the importance of investing time just so that you can get your time back, right? Because that's really essentially what you're trying to do. You're trying to have that vacation where you completely just relax and plug off and assure yourself that your team has everything handled and everything is going to be okay. A lot of law firm owners struggle with that. And unfortunately, that is a true reality for, I would say, at least 80% of law firms out there, regardless of the size, because even the big dogs have their deficiencies.
Sure. Yeah. Nobody's perfect. And it's funny that you say that because I just had a good conversation, another podcast episode with Dan Warburton, who kind of helps law firm owners help on the delegation side of things. So we were having some conversations there. But I think it's important to go back a couple steps and let's think about the why. Do, why, like, how does effective staff training contribute to increased profits, for example? Because at the end of the day, a lot of people are just trying to grow their business and have that free time and everything. So how does training the staff help get you from A to B?
Yeah, so let's just go with the basics. So, on average, here in South Florida, a lawyer charges around $450 an hour versus your litigating paralegal that can be more than capable of handling the litigation process. You're
Hmm.
probably paying them around $25 an hour, maybe if they're really, really good and they do all the case briefs and they're at their tail end of their career. At most, you're paying them $65. So $450, right? With $65, let's just use the max to max, right there, you're saving when they're able to handle all of that, when they're able to take on the strategies and the litigation, and all you have to do is QC it, quality
Yeah.
control. All you have to do is review the information, and that cuts right there, especially if you are a law firm that bills per the hour. I know
Mm-hmm.
that I can see the concern there because they rather get that 450 and bill the client the 450, but they're still doing attorney work just as in a paralegal capacity. So there are ways to work around that, right? Because they're still doing case strategies, what is considered attorney work. It's not illegal. You're doing
Sure.
attorney work. So you're billing for the type of work, not the actual person that's doing the work. And I think a lot of people miss the mark on that. You're billing from the codes of billing 101 is administrative work, which is emails, faxing, if we do that anymore, phone calls, scheduling, things like that. Those are considered administrative stuff. Then you have the paralegal work, which is drafting. So we draft motions and hearings and things like that. Then you get to the third one, which is the one that brings in the most money, which is attorney work, which
Mm-hmm.
is case strategizing, legal research, all that good stuff. You need to have that. And you need to make sure that all that happens. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
understanding how to bill is really important. And if you're having somebody else do it, you'll make money and still make money and not lose money, if that made any sense, because you're still using your paralegal to do your work, which is essentially what we do anyway.
Yeah.
It's a little
Exactly.
so you can still charge because you're still going to review the work and you're still going to do the things. So there are ways around working with that. And that is a obstacle that we find ourselves explaining over and over again to these law firms that bill on an hourly basis with a retainer and then additional hourly rates. But if you're on a contingency, it's a lot easier sell because you're not making
Yeah.
any money unless you settle.
Mm.
That's where it's different, right? That's where the big difference is. So if it's on a contingency, you definitely want to reduce, automate tasks, and delegate the out of everything, right? Because you're not wanting to spend that extra time if it's unnecessary. So just think of it that way. Just think of it as at a contingency basis. What can you do in order to reduce your investment? You want to work on the business, not in the business. You just want to make sure that everything is running smoothly, QCing
Mm-hmm.
everything, and have your life back, right? Because you didn't open up a business to be in the business 24/7. That's not why you did it. You did it so that you can be your own boss and you can do your own things and have the flexibility and have the schedule and have the freedom. And unfortunately,
Yeah.
none of that is happening right now. And the only way you can have that is if you have a strong team.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And you said so many great things there. I just want to touch on a couple. Actually, kind of the ending there, I think, was perfect that you were talking about, especially attorneys. They go out, they start their own firm, and they do it with freedom in mind, but they end up just creating their own job.
Yep.
And that's the wrong way to do it. So when we're talking about prioritizing our staff members and the key areas of training there, what areas should we focus on that are going to have the biggest impact on that bottom line?
Oh, intake. That's where we miss
Okay.
the mark the most. We miss the mark the most on the intake. So when you are investing in the marketing and you're investing in all the good stuff, right? The legal software and all of that, what is happening at the forefront of your law firm? We tend to see it in the back end where
Hmm.
you're closing cases and things like that, but you're not going to get there if you don't have a strong beginning. So a lot of law firms lack a really strong intake team, person, contact. And those are the ones that are going to bring you in the most money. Because if they're not converting clients, then you're done. You won't have clients. So
Hmm.
understanding that your intake has to be the strongest. They're the first ones that are going to communicate with these people, with these clients, whether they're
Yeah.
potential or not. And so understanding that receptionists, answering services, whatever that looks like, the forefront people, the first impact, the first people before, what was it? It was like the brick and mortars. You'd come in, it was a beautiful lobby. So think of it that way, right? Think of it
Yep.
the aesthetics. Think of a beautiful lobby, a really well-dressed receptionist offering coffee and tea and this and that versus a broken door, smelly office. You know what I mean? Like
Oh, yeah.
they are going to buy into the experience. That is why I call it the hair salon or the barbershop effect. How do you choose your hair salon, your nail salon, your barber? It's the aesthetics, it's the experience. You receive the same experience over and over and over again, and hopefully it's pleasurable. If not, what are you doing? And the same results. So you're getting the hair done perfectly how you want it. You're getting your nails done. You're getting your hair cut really nice and sharp. You're getting your little tape, whatever it is, while having great conversations in a beautiful, very comfortable setting for you, whatever that looks like for you, because it looks differently for everyone. So understanding the first impressions really do matter. I mean, there's thousands of lawyers. How do you stand apart is by the way you provide customer service. And that is
Yeah.
always at the intake level. Always, always, always,
Hmm.
always.
Yeah, I mean, that reminds me of a couple things. One of them was just a conversation I had a couple weeks ago with a interesting setup for a firm where all the attorneys were responsible for all the intake. So all the calls that were coming in, they were basically taking a name and number, and then the attorneys had to like field all those and find out if there were cases. And their big complaint was, yeah, we're wasting all this time on all these irrelevant leads. And there were a lot of solutions to that, but I was just like shocked that that was the way that they handled it in 2024. So anyway, that story came to mind. It just, there's so many ways around that. It was just kind of mind-boggling. But you're right. A lot of people don't pay attention to that front end, and every interaction anybody has with your firm, that's your brand. So just like I'm always preaching to people, like your website is your store that's open 24/7. Like you have to put your best foot forward there. But it's the same for every interaction that anybody has with your firm, because that at the end of the day is your brand.
So
So,
let's say you're investing in your marketing, because it happens to me all the time. So obviously I have a great branding, and I've confirmed this over and over again, because every time I get on a call with a potential client or a paralegal that needs coaching, they're like, "Oh my God, you are really nice." Well, that's good. I mean, at least I'm matching the brand, but that's a great example in really reflecting what we were just talking about, tying it up, right? Like understanding that all your marketing efforts and all these things, it has to coincide at the time of contact, because if not, you're never going to convert these clients.
obviously, if you are training your staff, if you're keeping like A players, that's going to attract more talent like that too. So now that we understand kind of like the purpose of all of this, the why, how do we get practical here? What does it look like? I'm a law firm owner now and I want to train my staff. Where do I start? What do I do?
Well, you hire us. No, I'm just kidding.
Done.
There's little things you can do along the way before you start investing in consulting services and staff training. But first of all, get a strong software. And when I say strong, I don't mean the shiniest thing out there. I mean one that is capable of integrating with all your other tools. So you have this one central communication center where everybody can place notes, add tasks, add emails. Like you really want something that's very coherent and very flowy, very user friendly. It doesn't matter what level of tech people are, it's super easy to understand, right? And
Yeah.
so I'm not naming any names because I'm not being sponsored by any means, but you can go out there, you can start shopping around, and you can start looking at what suits your law firm the most. So start with having tools that will actually support that. Because what's happening is in those tools, you can create intake forms, which are super simple. Like they're not that complicated. Just typical questions, like what you were just saying, the example about the lawyers taking those calls after they took the name and number. Well, that's
Uh-huh.
easy. What are the common questions that those lawyers are asking in order to determine whether or not it's going to be a feasible case, a case that's suitable for the law firm? Write them down as you're going, as you're repeating yourself over and over and over again. What type of documents do you need in order to really determine how much your retainer is going to be, how long this is going to take, all these things, everything that's in your head, just write it down and implement it in an intake form. And that way anybody can just go in there and answer it in a conversational way. I hate the Q&A. We're not robots. Once you create this elaborate intake form, then you can have a stronger chance of actually getting a consultation with clients that are one, going to pay, that are able to pay,
That's
and
important.
two, right? And two, that actually have a case worth litigating or protecting and defending. Because sometimes, unfortunately, we're not able to litigate or protect or defend every single little case. So
Sure.
understanding that that is a reality. So training your staff on those things. Hey, these are red flags. These three things, if you see these three things, it's a big no-no. We're not able to do this. And you can even provide them with the state law, statute, whatever it is that prevents you from litigating or pursuing that lawsuit, especially if it's a big no-no. You definitely do not want to jeopardize the law firm or even the
Mhm.
licensing of your attorneys. You're the lawyer, you know this. So really start thinking and brainstorming and creating something. Again, take time to make time, because this simple thing that will probably take you maybe even 10 minutes because you've done it over and over and over again. And then just create it on your legal software. And that way, when you do have a really good lead, that lead is connected with an email and a phone number, and that can translate into reporting for administrators to review how many leads are we converting a month. So, really having that strong software first and then implementing everything in there will have a trickle effect on everyone at the law firm in a positive manner. So, start with the
Okay.
software and then work your way up.
And let's say that I'm at a different level and I am working my way up. Let's start talking a little bit about the consulting side of it. What does that look like?
So what we first do is we look at your numbers. We see how many cases you have, how many are actually closing a month, how much money is actually coming in. We just closed $1 million case. Yeah, but how much did it take you? How much did it cost you to get that $1 million? Did you really get the $1 million?
You're asking real
Because
business questions now.
yeah, exactly. Because if you're saying that you settled $1 million case, but you invested 2 million, putting into account the time of your staff. So if you used experts, you got to pay them. They're not going to do that for free. All these things, they add up. How much did that actually cost you? We see this very common with personal injury law firms. They lose sight of they're not getting paid until they settle. So they want to settle for the most, so they get the best experts, they get all this, and they invest all this money. And at the end of the day, they get nothing because they've
Hmm.
invested so much money in getting that $1 million settlement because it looks good on paper, but it doesn't
Yeah.
look good in the books. So really hitting them with a reality check is what we do first, because that's the only way we're going to get through the next step. Because how can we avoid this from happening again? You got to hit them hard, but I have the solution. So here's your problem, but this is how we're going to solve it. And there's plenty of ways depending on the formatting, how the law firm is, how big, small, how many employees there are, where they are they local, are they virtual, are they both, are they hybrid? All these things, there's plenty of other solutions that we can do after that, but we have to run the numbers and see where your law firm stands now and to see if it's even worth the investment of consulting, because honestly, we're not cheap. But if we're going to save you at least 10%, where you increase your profits for the first year 10% or 20% or 30%, then your return on investment looks good. But we're not going to sell you on something that, one, we're not able to provide, because honestly, you can't afford us. Even though you're a $500,000 law firm, you're not really making $500,000. You're making 250,000.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So really taking that consideration. Of course, we have smaller packages, like we have a startup, we have a mid and high level, but it really just depends on where the law firm stands financially to see where we can actually increase profits, decrease in efficiency, which is why we focus so hard on staff training, because staff training is not as expensive as consulting.
Yeah. And that makes sense. And I think that's a mental roadblock if you're going out and you're looking for like training programs or consulting or any of that. I think maybe it's misassociation. It's thinking that training can be costly, but really it's an investment. So how do you balance like that investment with the expected benefits? It sounds like you personally go through and you're kind of providing that information up front, essentially.
Yeah,
S-
so it's included in our initial consultation. So what we do is we don't just sit there and talk to you for 15 minutes. You have to go through an intensive intake form, which we've created, and we practice what we preach, basically. So we have to make sure that you are where we need you to be in order to actually provide you some benefits. We want to make sure that you're actually going to benefit from our consultations. We're not going to just take anybody and then take your money and then have bad reviews on Google and people talking bad about us on social
Mhm.
media because they didn't see the results or whatever it was. So our intake is pretty intensive. We ask not too much sensitive information, like how many cases do you have? And these are typical questions that lawyers should know, but you will be surprised they don't know. We make them think, how many cases do you have? How many cases do you close a month? On average, how much are those cases? Like, we're not really digging into your software yet, but we're asking you questions to really make you think and really make you see your own numbers. We're kind of guiding you as through the analysis that we would do anyway when we're in person or when we're actually hired and onboarded. So that is actually a great exercise for lawyers to come at a better mindset when they do choose to consult with us. You know what I mean? Because they're already at a different mindset. The whole thing is, are you mentally prepared for this? Because this is a journey. This is not like an overnight success story. Those don't exist. So
Yeah.
we're going to guide you through the success. You're probably not going to see this until like a good year into it. You know what I mean? You're not going to get this. It's not like marketing where sometimes you'll see the results within 90 days. If you're really hitting it hard and you see all these clients and it's almost like an instant gratification. Consulting is not, it's not like that. We have to undo everything that you've been doing for 5, 7, 10 plus years. And you're not going to see the results in 90 days of something that you've been doing for 5. It's like a habit, right? Like you have to get rid of the habit.
Build.
Yeah, and it has to build. So you won't probably see the results instantly, but you will see them within, I would say realistically, 6 months to a year. That's when you'll really see the big difference and really see where you are decreasing unnecessary cost by automating tasks, and you are increasing in efficiencies, right? Because there's a lot of the times it's just because the process has a lot of bottlenecks and it has a lot of inefficiencies. And it's mostly because the staff is not trained and they don't know that they need to do that thing because it's still in your head.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Fortunately, we haven't gotten that technology where we can read minds yet. So
it's around the corner.
It's closer than we think, but we haven't gotten there quite yet. So it's
Have
really
you,
more of a mindset shift first.
do you ever use Loom videos for training? Sorry, I was just thought about that, so I wanted to spit that out.
What is that? No, what is it? How do you spell that?
LOOM. It's just a browser
Oh,
extension.
Loom,
And
Loom,
yeah.
Loom. Oh, I thought you said Lynn, like Lynn University or something. And I was like, yeah, no,
Oh, no.
yeah, we do Loom. We do those for like teasers, something like basic, things like that. So they can see kind of what we do and things. I mean, obviously
Sure.
we do NDAs. Like a lot of people come to us and they're like, well, we want to speak to a prior client. And I'm like, well, I mean, we can't really do that. We just signed a contract. And like, I can't do that. But you can look at our reviews and you can look at our testimonials and things like that, but can't really talk to a prior client of ours that we signed an NDA on.
Yeah. So with staff training, I think a lot probably changes too, or maybe it doesn't, maybe it always stays the same. Are you seeing any trends that anybody should look out for?
AI is
Of
definitely a
course.
big one.
Yep.
Legal technology, really getting familiar with technological processes. So this is something that we hit hard a lot in our consulting because the legal industry tends to be very slow when it comes to progression. And if it wasn't for COVID, we probably wouldn't have half of the things such as virtual trial or virtual depositions. Those are things that we should have had decades ago when the technology first came out. I always tell this story where I was litigating paralegal and I would go to trials with my lawyers, and the outlets in the courtrooms, we still had to bring a converter so that we can actually plug in our new technology. Like that's how outdated the courtrooms were. And this is where we actually had to try our cases. So really understanding that the legal industry is not really the best at progress. And so we have to stay ahead of that. Like a lot of people are afraid of AI just because they don't really know what it is. It's just like anything else, anything new that has come out. Everybody's like, whoa, what is that? Like, is it going to take over our jobs? And yes and no. I always say the answer to that is, yeah, it depends, like anything else in law. But overall, if you get ahead of the game and you start learning the technology and you start working with it, then one, you won't be afraid. 2, you'll have job security because nobody else does it. And
Yeah,
3,
of course.
you get to be a better legal professional because now you have an extra tool that's helping you be that better professional, right? Because we can have all the education in the world, which I'm all for legal education, but it's not going to help you in making more money and growing your career or growing your law firm. So understanding that there's other things, other tools that we need to learn, such as legal software, AI capabilities, integrations, SOPs, everything that I just mentioned, is what we really need to be focusing on, because that's what's going to make us money. That's really what's going to
Yeah.
make us money in the end.
Well, yeah, there's a long-term value there too. You build into something that's sellable as opposed to maybe just a book of business too, if you're actually
Yeah.
building in those processes. So I love the long-term thinking. And there's too many benefits to list outside of scale and better operations and happier clients and all of that. Like there's just so much
Yeah.
that goes into it. So I guess then kind of as we get closer to the end here, what advice would you give to law firms looking to implement or improve their staff training programs?
I always like to start with asking the staff, because they're the ones that are working day in and day out in your processes. They're the ones that speak to your clients more often than not. They're the ones that understand the lay of the land. They're the ones that are seeing the inefficiencies and are working through those inefficiencies. So having a nice team meeting, maybe a luncheon, something more casual, not too formal, because you want to get your staff comfortable. You don't want them thinking that they're going to get fired or something like that. So really making it a very easy transition and more conversational. People are more open. This is psychology 101. They're more open to express their feelings when they're not under fear. So
Yeah.
understanding that you have to make them comfortable, and that this is more of a conversational that you need to have with your staff versus, oh, we're going to make changes and this and that and blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, we're not dictators. We're here to learn. And there's always room for improvement. I always say that. Like everybody's like, no, I run the best law firm. I have the best staff. And I'm like, okay, I'm sure you do.
There's no
But
pride
do
in
they feel
this.
that way? Like, do you know their birthdays and their anniversaries, and do they get these gifts and these appreciations, and do you have staff awards at the end of the month or the year? Are they feeling that, right? Do they know that? Do they know that they're good and that they're an A team and that they're amazing and this and that? You know what I mean?
Oh
So
yeah.
the conversation's both ways. Start a conversation. It's very simple.
Awesome. I love it. Eda, you had so much good advice, like in such a short amount of time there. There's a lot of good nuggets that we'll be able to extract from this. I'm confident of that. What are some key takeaways you want our listeners to remember, I guess, about the importance of staff training? And then we'll talk about how they can get in touch with you as well.
Yes. So your staff are your dream makers. Understanding that they're not just people that you pay to do tasks. They are people that are actually building, improving, and growing the law firm. Without them, you wouldn't be where you are today. And if you don't feel that way, then you need some serious revamping and some serious analyzing. So to get to that point, though, there is a lot of things that you need to do. I felt that way when I was a paralegal full time. I was a paralegal for 15 years, which is why I got the nickname the CEO paralegal. It was just like I never felt appreciated, even though I got awards from our clients, which at that time were banks, which is really hard to get recognized with multi-billion-dollar companies. But I got awards every year from our clients of best employee of the year from a client, not from the law firm. I received plenty of praise from the clients, and the reviews on Google and everything were, if it wasn't for Eda, I would probably never have used this law firm. And there's plenty of staff members out there that go through this. So investing in your staff in more ways than none. Like sometimes we miss the mark on that, and then you wonder why there's so much turnover, why people are not motivated or ambitious. I get this all the time from clients. And I was like, I have a few ideas as to probably why, but we'll assure that my ideas are accurate. Sometimes we get so lost in running the business and getting the numbers and finding the cash flow and making sure we make payroll and all these things as business owners in general, that we forget that these are humans with families and needs and lives
Hmm.
outside this law firm, and treating them as much. You'll see the drastic changes. Oh, you know what? You don't have to pay me overtime. I'll just stay. Like I've seen that before. Not often, but I have seen that. Like when people thoroughly enjoy and feel appreciated. And sometimes it's not about the money, because I've
Yeah.
seen people walk away from six figures just because the environment was just so toxic. So sometimes it doesn't matter how much money you throw at them or how many flashy benefits you give them. It's not all about that anymore. These
Hmm.
new breeds, what I call them, new breeds of legal professionals, they want flexibility. They want respect. They want to feel appreciated. And it's not that they're going to get a gold participation trophy. That's not what we're asking. And that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about if it's a birthday, you give them a gift card from their favorite coffee shop because you see that they come in every morning from the coffee shop with a coffee. Or
Yeah.
these little things. Oh, you're graduating. You give them a little graduation gift. Oh my gosh, that's so great. Because in the end, when they're graduating, it's going to benefit you anyway because they're learning more and they're putting more under their belt. Understanding those little in-between moments and the importance of that will get you your profits, your motivation, all the things that you're lacking. But you have, just like anything else, you have to invest. People are not just going to do it to do it.
You're absolutely right. And Eda, it sounds like you can help law firms with this journey. So obviously you shared a lot of great insight and a little bit into like how you look at firms if you're working with them. If somebody's interested in learning more about you or working with you or just having a conversation with you about this to see if it's a good fit, what is the best way to get in touch with you?
I would say LinkedIn because I live on LinkedIn, like quite literally. I use it as text messaging and everything. I'm always on LinkedIn and I love it. It's a really great platform. I'm not getting paid for this. This is free
That's the
advertisement.
first time I
But
heard that.
But I have been able to build my business and get stronger leads through LinkedIn than anywhere else I've invested. And I've invested in paid ads and all the good stuff. It's just not as good as LinkedIn. So I would say hit me up on LinkedIn, follow, message me, do whatever it is. All our information's on LinkedIn. So if you want to look at our website, if you want to, schedule a consult, all that is on the profile. So you can get all the links on there. But I love my LinkedIn. I don't know. I'll never give it up. Hopefully they don't go out of business because I really like them.
I think they'll be around. We'll go ahead and put your LinkedIn profile on the website and on the description as well, and in the videos, so it's easy for people to find you. And again, I just want to thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today. It was a pleasure having you on the show, and can't wait to follow you on LinkedIn and see more of your progress in the future.
Thank you, Casey. It was a pleasure. And thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.